So I think it's like so important to really build a smart business and to have boundaries.
And saying no is definitely a big part of being able to grow in a healthy way, I believe.
Like, what do you want to do? Think through that. Define that. And when you can define that, then you can look at what you're currently doing and start making a plan. Then, man, you can get closer to that. On this episode of the podcast, we talk about the importance of setting clear boundaries with clients. We also talk about insights into the dynamics of a successful video and photo team. And then we also talk about Joel's unique approach to content creation. All this and more in today's episode. What is up, my friend? Hey, welcome to this episode of the show. Super happy to have you. Yes, I know. Having your ears is a very, very valuable resource. I mean, me having your ears. I understand that. I know that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I'm so grateful that you are here. If there is anything on this show that you want different or better or anything, my goal is to serve you and to help you. So if there's some way that I can do that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can do it directly by sending me an email, a good old-fashioned email, and my email address is ryan@studiosherpas.com. Okay. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. This is my 19th anniversary, my 19th year of running a video production business. Our studio is based near Metro Detroit area, and I've got a team. We have this cool production studio, and I've been doing work with clients who do a lot of brand films, a lot of documentary style marketing content, and it's very fun. It's very fulfilling, and I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and I've learned some things, and this show is really intended to help people fail faster, to learn from some of the mistakes, and to benefit from some of the wisdom that I've been able to glean from the incredible network of people that I have at my disposal, people in the video production world, and then also people outside, people that are in sales and marketing, business operations, and all of that. So this show is for you if you are a corporate or commercial filmmaker, or you're wanting to really get into corporate filmmaking. Maybe you're doing wedding filmmaking, maybe you're doing video on the side. The hope here is to give you a foundation of business practices, things that you need to do when you're actually ready to take this whole thing seriously. So I'm super happy that you are here. If you are new, I would like to invite you to my 6-Figure Filmmaker Workshop, where I share 3 things that I've done and I encourage other people to do in their businesses that will help streamline, I think, the fastest, most effective and efficient way. You can access this free workshop by going to studiosherpas.com/workshop. This thing is brand new. I created it from scratch. So if maybe in the past you're like, I did attend that 6-Figure Filmmaker Workshop, this is new. It's updated. It's more streamlined. And I think it will be very, 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 very helpful. Not for varies, just not stumbling over when I say very, very. Okay, how about that? How about them apples? I think that's all I have for now. Let's get into this interview, and I'll see you after the interview, okay? What's up, friends? Welcome to this episode of the podcast. Today, I have Joel Cordero from Cordero Video and Photo. He is the owner and the principal. Joel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
We had a little bump getting you here with the Riverside app or whatever the heck, but I'm grateful that I'm seeing your face and getting to spend some time with you. So tell me a little bit about your business. Like, what do you do? What do you love doing? What's kind of your heartbeat behind the work that you're doing?
So I'm creating a lot of social media content, primarily marketing and advertising, video and photography for the real estate industry, the marine industry, and cannabis. I don't do any work really that involves people for the most part, unless it's family or friends. I try to stick with houses, boats, and bud.
That's funny. That's great. So Ben is the one who recommended that you be on the show. What is it that Ben, like, I mean, why would Ben do that? Like, what does he love about what you're doing? Because obviously he respects the work that you've got going on in the business that you're building.
So Ben and I go ways back. He was actually my video mentor. I was doing video long before I realized I was doing video. We actually were a part of. He was the founder of a nonprofit when I was a teenager, going back 20 plus years, and I was involved as a graphic designer, helping to advertise events that we were organizing for the community for free, and usually involving arts and music, hip hop, and I had to document these events after the fact, during the actual events. And Ben was also simultaneously putting together a program called Put Out the Word, which aired on public cable access, but he had it worked out where he had a big network of airing actually. And so I was doing video long before I knew I was doing video. I've always been a creative. Grew up drawing, painting, just naturally had a knack for it. And that evolved into digital media when I really started trying to pursue the creative outlets for income, right? Like, it's one thing to be creative, it's one thing to actually live off of it. And as much as I enjoyed the painting and drawing side of it, it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue in that way. So along came digital media. I was first introduced to digital media with Photoshop, which again I used to create ads and designs for these different events. And shortly thereafter, Ben started, introducing me to a little bit of the video editing side of things, Final Cut Pro, and I remember the big green G3, Apple G3, I think it was a Power PC, whatever. Right? And aging myself a little bit here, but it was a beautiful blessing in disguise that I didn't even know was happening at the time. And when I finished my degree, I did a big project that involved a printed book of photos and also a short documentary, and it was called The Ave, which actually it still exists on YouTube and can be researched, just by literally putting The Ave, New Bedford. It still has tons of hits and comments on it all the time. It's funny to even hear some of those comments, but long story short, I realized I wanted to do more video work. And so I took on just about anything that came my way at the time. I was really big into corporate events. I did do the weddings and I did things of that nature just to get business, as any young, person in the industry would. And eventually started really finding the niches that I enjoyed the most. And I enjoyed running a photography studio where I had to photograph lots of fashion products. That opened the doors for me to get into broadcast, which was my role was a broadcast editor, and I became the first licensed drone pilot at NBC News in Boston. It was Channel 7, was NBC at the time. And that was a whole lot of fun. I really, really sharpened my video editing skills there. So I started doing stuff on the side while I was there because I became known locally. Hey, that guy, he works at NBC. He's not just, just running around, figuring it out as he goes right now. He does it professionally, which added to my ability to get larger clients for larger projects, which little by little, I started enjoying more of the real estate marketing side of things. I'm fascinated by the pockets of the world that exist I never knew about prior to having to go to these properties to photograph them or create video to advertise them for sale. And so that really became the big push, I want to say, the last 8 years. With my business was advertising a lot of real estate, And I have, again, along the way, done a lot of stuff and still do for the marine industry and for the cannabis industry. That's the that's the Cordero video and photo of 2023 so far.
What's the makeup of your team? Like what does it look like,
So I'm
and
the
what are
primary shooter.
your job responsibilities?
Yeah, I obviously I coordinate the business. I am the primary shooter, and my guys help edit right now because on average the edit ratio is like a 1 to 3 ish. 1 hour of shooting, 3 hours of editing, and
Yeah.
often a little bit more, and sometimes less. Right. Um, but the edit side, obviously, I can only do so much. So having the extra eyes and hands on deck to be able to get some of the work to the clients on a timely basis is key. Part of real estate is understanding the nature of the business, and that is all here now, today, not tomorrow. And people literally ask me on a regular basis, "Hey, when can I have my photos?" Like they expecting them that evening or the next day, and I always promise a 24-hour turnaround. And to do that, um, I need extra hands on deck, and so my guys are primarily helping me out with the edit side of the business.
That's great. Super nice to be in a spot where you can hire editors, because I think for so long, I mean, anytime you hire anything, I think the first thought is like, well, there's money I'm not, going to put in the bank. But as filmmakers, we know that also editing, I mean, you said 3 to 1, 4 to 1. It's like, it's so much time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do a full day of filming, 8 hours, that's like 32 hours ish of editing. That's a 40-hour week. So
There it is.
if you're making $5,000 on that project, and it's going to take you a week, then you can kind of guess like, okay, that could be $20,000 per month, and that could be, maybe that's a great project for you. But you got to break stuff down if you're not getting $5,000 for that,
Right.
and it's like, ooh, I only charge $2,000. Whoa, okay, 2,000 time, and it's going to take me a whole week times 4 weeks in the month. That's $8,000. Plus, I've got to keep my gear up to speed, and I've got other expenses and things. It's like, can you build a business on that?
Right.
I don't know, but you at least need to start with the end in mind and think through, like, what does that look like? What would you say for you, like, as you're, building this business, like what's an area that you want to grow in, and how do you foresee that happening?
The focus right now in terms of growth for Cordero Video and Photo is, I guess, it's not so much in volume more than it is in class, right? Like I want to upscale clientele, and I have shot many properties that were in the multi-millions. I shot a property last year in South Dartmouth, Massachusetts. That was $7.5 million estate that most people would never even know was tucked in the back corner over here. But there's tons of them all over this area.
Yeah.
This is a big destination area for a lot of sailors, international sailors. So there's a big boat culture out here, and that does attract a lot of those summer residents, that people that have that second home. They come here from wherever, and they enjoy their summers on their boats in Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. And I have not just the ability to advertise through photography and video when it comes to real estate, but I do floor plans. I create the virtual tours. I can produce an independent website for each individual listing. So my work does tailor itself to the higher end listing, to the higher end price point in real estate. And so to that end, I do want to keep growing in that way. I have done many already. I just want to do more thereof. And there is so much more out there. There is so vastly much more out there. It's unbelievable. And you don't know it till you're on the road. And I have plenty of days where I've been for 8 hours straight all over the state, from Boston to Cape Cod, photographing, a $3.5 million townhouse in South Boston to a $2 million little summer cottage, like a little cottage, but it's on the water near the Cape. That tiny little cottage is going to get you a couple mil. So it's interesting, it's fascinating seeing these different places and being able to make income at the same time it's all the best. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and that's really the number one goal. I have young children. I could grow the business further. I know that, but I would sacrifice that time that I'm not going to get back with them right now.
Yeah.
So
man,
I'm playing a fine line with growth. But I'm enjoying so far the way it's been growing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is such a challenge as a business owner. I mean, so many of the conversations that I have with people in a similar phase of life where you've got kids and you started this business so that you could have freedoms. And, if we find ourselves working 60, 70, 80 hours a week in our businesses to try to stay afloat, it's like, man, the investment that I wanted to, do with our kids, the time I wanted to be able to spend, it's like it's going by way too fast. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like so important to really build a smart business and to have boundaries.
Yeah.
So that you can, whether it's kids or a spouse or other things like you're an artist, and to be able to find those other things that really make you come alive, so that when you do sit down to do the work, you're full. Like you're filled with joy and fulfillment, and you're like ready to go, versus running on empty, right? You can't serve anybody when you're running on empty, and
right.
Building a business that works for you versus you working for the business, I think is the dream. Similar, speaking of dream, I think so many people share your same dream of like, yeah, I want better clients. I want to up level the clientele that we're working with. I want to work with people that have bigger budgets, that have, nicer things or better stories or whatever that may be. I'm curious to know, congrats on the success that you've had so far with some of these bigger clients. Like, do you have a plan on how you're going to get more clients like this? What are you going to do?
Yeah. And it's in motion. So first step was to actually get my real estate broker's license, and which I got earlier this year after 10 years of working as a real estate agent and being an integral part with my marketing work and helping this particular company grow from a small operation to a office that now produces over $200 million a year. And in doing that, I truly have become an expert in real estate in this region. I can walk into houses and kind of give you a price point just looking around. Don't necessarily need to pull up the comps because I'm out taking pictures of the comps all the time.
Yeah, right.
I see these comps all the time. And so I'm going to start selling more real estate myself. And my wife and a couple of friends are going to help as well in that process, and truly spend some advertising dollars wisely in targeting potential clients in those markets. And that takes a little back end, Google AdWords and that kind of stuff. It's a combination, right? It's not that's the other thing in marketing. I've learned throughout the years is there's no one magic button. There is no one formula that is going to produce X amount of leads every single week or every month. There is constant adjustments, pivoting, put a little extra of this, take a little extra of that out. It's very, to me, much like cooking. There's all the ingredients, and you can give the same recipe to 10 different people and get 9 different results. It's just how much of this and how much of that is. So I have a plan. The foundation of that plan is the brokerage. The brokerage is going to be called Coastal Village, and it's already a legal entity. And that's just going to literally be my mechanism for targeting larger clients, even on the Cordero video and photo side, because I'm going to be the one creating the marketing content anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's if you're advertising that business, then you can just say like, well, here's our partner that is going to do the video and photo, and there you go. That's an interesting, kind of a smart way of doing that. Over the years of you owning your business, you probably have learned some lessons. You probably have had some struggles along the way. What would you say is like one of the biggest challenges that you've faced as a business owner?
It's no longer a challenge. It was a lesson that I had to embrace and really practice, and that is saying no. Learning when to say no. Will you cut the price by 20%? No. Will you, with a 24-hour notice, will you be able to reschedule till later in the day or the following day? No. Can I get my money back? No. You canceled with 30 minutes notice. There are many occasions in which it is appropriate and in your best interest to say no. And it's hard because you're scared at first. You think they may never call me back. They may spread the word that I'm not easy to work with, or that I might be money hungry, or there are all the reasons that you will tell yourself you should still be nicer. You should be more considerate of them. But in the end, there's only so much that's going to serve you if you're not considerate of yourself, if you're not considerate of your family, if you're not considerate of the time that you put in to build your expertise, to build your value, and then to cut yourself down. What is the point of building yourself up if you're going to cut yourself down? And saying no is definitely a big part of being able to grow in a healthy way, I believe. Because if you're constantly yesing people, you're going to overpromise and underdeliver, number one. And you're going to sacrifice where you probably don't have the means to do so, right? Like sacrificing bedtimes with your children, which is a very difficult decision I still have to struggle with. I have networking events that are usually in the early evenings. My kids are in bed by 8 o'clock, you know what I mean? And there are those moments where I'm like, this one I have to do. I have to go. If I miss this, I might miss opportunities that I'm going to regret. And I try to live without regret. So I try to make those decisions very carefully. And saying no has been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in running my own business.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's really helpful, even as you're saying that, creating clear expectations with your clients, right? If you do that up front, and you continually do that throughout the relationship, when you do say no, like it shouldn't come as a surprise, right? Explaining, well, I think it starts with a process. You have to have a process for how do you work? How does your company show up? What is your flow? What do you do? What don't you do? In explaining that, knowing that, you can't just know it. You have to share that with your clients, because you can't just assume that they know all of your inner workings. Right. And typically the way that you work, you're going to have to, okay, we just finished phase 1. Phase 2, remember, we talked on our kickoff call that phase 2, this is what we're going to need, this is what we're going to do, and then we'll enter phase 3 where we're going to do blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we're in phase 3, and this is, as you do that, clients and people appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And then when things come up, when they do come to you for this last minute thing, you can say oh man, and if it's something that you can't do, you can kind of go back to, yeah, no, we'd love to. And, normally this is the way that we would work in a situation like this. If we could do it, we would go above and beyond to make that happen. We just can't do it. I'm really sorry. And here's an alternative idea or an alternative solution. But it starts with you having a process for how you work. It starts there. And then I think that the next smart thing to do would be to communicate that with any new client and then keep walking them through as you're walking through. So when things do come up where you're just like, man, that's way out of scope. We can't do that. Or maybe you can, but you need to have that conversation about scope. And that's another, add that to as part of your process. Like, right now we're agreeing to 2 days of filming. It's going to cost this. We can do additional days of filming, and additional days typically cost X amount. So when that conversation comes up, you've already had it, or at least like what it costs. And it's essentially them not assuming you just do another day for free.
Right.
You were very clear that it costs something. So I think that's a great point. Saying no, having boundaries, creating those expectations, I think is really, really smart. I'm glad that you brought that up. We're almost done. I want you to take a second here and think through, we've got an audience of people who, some people have been doing this work for a long time and other people are new. If you could give advice, one piece of advice that you're like, man, this has really worked for me in my business. I know you kind of shared, say no. I think that's good. But if there's like one kind of like parting, another piece of wisdom that you might share, what would that advice be?
So I say this keeping in mind that most people I'm speaking to are trying to figure out a way to enjoy doing what they do while earning an income, right? Like I'm pretty sure that's the scope of the audience, right? Like, most people are in the field to some extent, whether they're, entering the field, whether they're veterans in the field. I think figure out what you don't want to do. Cut out the fat, right? Again, when I first started, I did portraits, I did families, I did weddings, I did corporate events, I did this, I did that. And in that process, I figured out what I didn't want to do. And even in figuring out photography as my major in college, that wasn't an easy process. I was almost done with my bachelor's as a graphic design major. My senior year, halfway through my senior year, I said after my first semester, like, you know what? I'll finish this. I don't want to do this for people. I just don't want to build websites. I don't want to do more design work. I fumbled back and forth figuring out what I didn't want to do. I went back to school in painting. I dropped out again. I went back in sculpture. I dropped out again because I wanted to make sure whatever the heck I was going to finish that degree in was something that I did want to do, that it's going to actually be serviceable to me. So I figured out what I didn't want to do. I cut out, even whether that was through actual expenditure of time, right? Some people might be able to mentally process that. I wasn't able to do that. I had to physically go and put my hands on the material and get a feel for whether or not I wanted to continue doing that for the rest of my life. And as much as I enjoyed certain things, photography was what I ended up with because I figured out what I didn't want to do first.
That's great. Cutting the fat, the 80-20 rule. I just feel like we should always be auditing the work that we're doing, the people that we're spending time with, what we're investing our money in, like really doing an audit and saying like, is this the best use of my time, energy, resources, all of those things. And I think that's really helpful advice, because if you're constantly auditing, whether it's weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever, yearly at the very, very least, look at your work, the kind of clients that you're working with, the kind of work that you're producing, the kind of people you're hanging out with. Like, what do you want to do? Think through that, define that. And when you can define that, then you can look at what you're currently doing and start making a plan of like, okay, I want to work less with these kinds of clients and more with these kinds, or do less of this kind of work. And then, man, you can get closer to that. But if you don't define it and you don't look at what you're currently doing, and then you don't spend time to think through, how can I do more of this? How can I double down on this? Because this is what I really want to do. When you're able to do that, man, you're doing yourself a huge favor, and you're getting closer to living out your best life and your best dream in your business. Good stuff. Joel, how can people connect with you and follow along with all the cool stuff that you've got going on?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is go to joelcordero.com. Joel Cordero is JoelCordero. Most people would say Joel Cordero, but growing up, I was called Joel. So joelcordero.com is my gallery where I actually put out some of my personal work. I had a big exhibit earlier this year called Sky's the Limit. And there's some really cool stuff there. A lot of it, I want to say 90% of it was shot through a drone. And it's just incredible what we could do. I feel like we're just literally touching it's an infant sort of industry and creative outlet. But the drone has definitely changed my life. And I have a fleet of them now for a reason. And joelcordero.com is a place where you can go to see some of my creative work, and my professional work is all accessible at corderovideophoto.com.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing time with me today. It's fun to kind of hear your story, and I'm wishing you the best and hoping that you just continue to grow and keep getting closer to living your best life and doing the things that you want to do in your business.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me today. I appreciate the time, and same to you. Well, all the best to you in the show and the program. I hear nothing but great things that are going on, and keep it going, man.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. All right, friend, thank you for hanging out with me on this episode. Seriously, I am so grateful for you. This is a joy to be able to do this. And like I said, if this episode was good and helpful and you've got some takeaways, you want to share those with me, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. If you're watching this video in video form on YouTube or Facebook or wherever, leave a comment in the video and let me know what stood out. What did you like? What didn't you like? And I said it at the beginning of the show, I'll say it again now. If you have any feedback for me, any way that I can help serve your business, email me, Ryan, R-Y-A-N, @studiosherpas.com. And I read those emails, and I would love to help you if I can. So that is it for now, my friend. Have an amazing, amazing week, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.